is 7:05, so I am going to launch. And people will join us as they come in. So I'm Carol MUNCH, your annual dinner chair of this year. It's virtual. Hope you had a good dinner as well as our meeting. I am an outgoing member of the Denver Council, and I have run the annual dinner for, this is my 4th year. To get us in the mountain mood, I'd like to read you a quote by Donald Culross Peattie, an American botanist, naturalist, and author. Where the deer bound, where the trout rise, where your horse stops to slather a drink from icy waters while the sun is hot on the back of your neck, where every breath you take is an exhilaration, that is where the aspens grow. So here is our, there it went. Oops. Move that thing. So here we are. Our special guest tonight, okay, come on, babe. Are Keegan Young, our CMC Executive Director, and Jeff Flax, our own Jeff Flax, who is the CMC State Board President. Jeff, are you on?
I am.
Jeff would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you all for welcoming me. It's been an odd journey going from a member to Linda Lawson asked me if I'd be on Denver Group Council. That will only take a couple hours a month, which turned out not quite to be the case. But it's really cool being the board president this year and having an active role in the direction of the club. I want to thank Carol for an incredible amount of work putting this together. Want to thank Robbie and Kathy for being great co-chairs of the Denver Group. I've really enjoyed working with you. Look forward to continuing working with Kathy on State Council and with Cindy and Zach as our new Denver Group Council co-chairs. So about 2 years ago, we started working on the strategic plan by going around the state and doing member engagement sessions. And from that, we built the new strategic plan. I hope you've taken a look at it. If you haven't, it's on the website. It is member driven. It's going to be the direction that the board and the club is going to be going for the next few years. All of our board committees and board actions will be reflected in the strategic plan. So it really is member driven. We're real excited about it. My role as president, we've got a lot of things going on. One of my big goals is to improve communications across the club. And it's been fascinating for me, having grown up in the Denver Group, to go around the state and get to know the other groups and group councils. And it's an amazing group of people. It's very cool. It's not just Denver. About 2 years ago, we fired up State Council again. And State Council is one representative of each of the group councils. So in the past, each group was kind of a stovepipe and didn't interact much with each other, or really with the state board, which is somewhat isolated. So we formed State Council, and it's amazing how much communications now go on between the groups, and particularly information coming up from members through the group councils to the state board and staff working with them. It's been a hard year. It's going to be a tough few months. Our revenues are way down, but we're getting through it. Keegan and staff have just done an amazing job of keeping us going and weathering the storm. So we've just done a new campaign for the December season, and hope you guys will be able to participate in that. We're going to get through this. It's just going to be a tough few months. Our membership, ironically, has been increasing, which is a big change from 2008 during the recession, where we just saw our membership dive. So that's been real encouraging. Maddie and staff have just done a phenomenal job with keeping members engaged through the online university and other activities. And I think that's part of the reason that membership has stayed engaged. So one of my bigger goals, in addition to communications, is a new website. I know all of you love the existing website and hate to see the old one go, but it's happening. So we are co-licensing with Seattle Mountaineers. The website is themountaineers.org. And so they've already got a wonderful established database, very similar structure to ours. And so we'll be putting a new skin on the Mountaineers database, and we'll have our own database for our data and so forth. So we're looking at that probably being about 18 to 20 months out, but we have already started the work. The state council has been involved with expired and working with staff on this, how to deal with expired wilderness first aid explorations and certifications. So we're working on that. And I think we've come to a good place that will allow leaders to continue to lead and then get their first aid training over the next year. One of my other projects is forming a subcommittee with our risk management committee on the board and state council to do a specific policy issues. And the main one we've got coming up that I know DS&L has been concerned about in a big way is avalanche renewal and training required for avalanche. So we're getting going on that next month, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be on the board and president, and look forward to having a good time. Thanks, Carol.
Great, thank you, Jeff. These are our intentions for the evening. We're going to recognize our volunteers. We're going to recognize our trip leaders who have given a lot during this past year. And then we have a special speaker, Sheryl Lampert, who's one of our own, who climbed Denali this last year. And her slides will be on climbing the high peaks in North and South America. I will put this slide up every once in a while, and I know that Sarah has also put it in the chat box. If you have questions, comments about what we're doing, put it in the chat box. And if you're not muted, please mute yourself. Any questions about how to mute or anything? Okay. This is your Denver Group Council. Robbie Monsma and Kathy Kurtz have been the co-chairs for the last 2 years. They are outgoing. Your new co-chairs are Cynthia Lair and Zach Eaton. I never know how to say your name, Zach, sorry. Wilma Shepard continues as treasurer, Sue Holden as secretary. Jeff Golden and Roger Wendell will stay on the board. Martha Delaporte and myself are leaving. Your 4 new members are Michaela Brandon, Kristen Tollefson, Sandy Heiss, and John Heeb. I think that you have a good mix of younger and older on the board, so we're very excited about what they'll come up with this next year. As Jeff said, our Denver membership has continued to be strong. We have grown over 7% since last year to 4,859 people. The Denver Council I know before I joined the council, I had no idea what it was or what it did. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the big things we've done this year. If you're a trip leader, you probably know what SALT is. That's free classes, support aid for leader training. We increased this to be all school instructors. It was formerly just the senior instructors, as well as leaders. So they can apply for free classes that enhance their skills in the backcountry. We had a quick start navigation series with 18 plus free webinars during the COVID restrictions. That's actually quite good, and it's still out there. And you can see how to navigate on several different platforms on it. As Jeff said, we authorized $100,000 from the Denver Group's Reserve Fund to help a fast start on the CMC website. And as he said, the work is started. Again, that website, if you want to check it out, is mountaineers.org. We worked with the schools committee, and after about a 2-year time period, finished a school tuition study that will ensure that both students and CMC receive value for their tuition dollars. We created a Denver Zoom account that is available to all Denver schools, sections, committees, If you need to have a meeting, we've got a calendar for it. It's there. We've all been Zooming a lot this year. We've encouraged schools to go online. WTS is just now finishing up its fall class. All the lectures were online. All the field trips were out in the field. As far as I know, nobody's gotten sick. Trip Leader School has moved online. Wilderness First Aid is moving online. So and check it out. The last thing, which sounds kind of dry, is Robbie and Kathy reviewed and updated all the Denver group bylaws and policies. They were really piecemeal. They hadn't been gone through and changed in years. So now it's really hard to maintain institutional memory when the board changes every few years. So now everything is down, and if somebody needs to know what's happening and why, it's all in there. Okay, now for the good part. Oh, any questions on any of that, please put them into the chat box. All right, now on to the Outstanding Service Awards. Jeff Flax has headed up this committee for the last several years. His committee includes Sarah Thompson, Robbie Mosma, Kathy Kurt, Steve Billig, and Joe Griffith. So I'm going to say, take it away again, Jeff.
I'll put my microphones on. Thanks, Carol. The service awards, Outstanding Service Awards, are given each year to 5 to 6 members who've made a significant contribution to the Denver group over the last few years. And it's always hard because we've got a lot of people who've done a lot for the club, but we try to pick people who've really stood out in terms of making contributions. First is Jeff Benton. If you want to hit the slide, Carol.
You see it?
Jeff has been a member since 2014. He's an instructor about everything: BMS, Alpine Climbing School, Winter Camping School, Backpacking School, Knot Tying School, and our hero on teaching all of this, Al Topo, which has just been amazing. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Carol can jump to the next slide. Carol.
Can you see it?
Yeah, no, there we go. Our next
there must be some delay because I did it.
Okay. Our next awardee is Sue Holden. Sue moved here when she retired in 2017 from the East Coast. She just loves and has made a big contribution to the club, and particularly to Denver Group Council. She has taken over most of the duties of the cmcdenver.org website, which is a lot. And I was thrilled to have Sue come in. She's been an assistant instructor for WTS, been on Denver Group Council since she came, is now secretary. She's helped with DS&L and, as I said, with the website, and that's been huge and greatly appreciated. Congratulations, Sue.
Great, thanks, Jeff.
Jeannie Ice is just such a cool person. I've really enjoyed getting to know Jeannie. She has really stepped up to the plate in the last year with COVID, and has led over 25 virtual hikes, which are done by Zoom for a couple hours in the middle of the week. And she's attracted a large number of people. Her topics have been pretty extensive, from birding to photography to trips to Kilimanjaro to camping, summit trip. And they're fun. And it's been just a great way to stay engaged. And again, I think that's the sort of thing that has retained our membership. Congratulations, Jeannie.
Thanks, Jeff.
And next is Jeff Stevens. Jeff has just made huge contributions over the last few years. In addition to being a very, very active trip leader, primarily with the Bobcats, Jeff put together our track manager, which is a way for leaders or anyone to upload GPS tracks that they've done and share those with other members. He's been on DS&L. Most recently, he's been the director of the Trip Leader School and moving that to an online format that not only Denver's using, but it's being used statewide. And that was a major contribution, greatly appreciated from what I've received compliments from around the state. Jeff also helped with the CMC acronyms page, which we have on the cmcdenver.org page. So if you ever wonder what all the gobbledygook abbreviations are, go look at that page and find out. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mike Tischer. Mike joined in about 2013. He again has just been one of these incredible instructors with Wilderness Trekking School. Robbie and Kathy formed a Denver Group member initiatives committee, which has taken on to get people engaged. One of the things we found over the years is that we tend to lose members who only join for 1 year, and then they may meet people or they just move on. And so the purpose of that committee was to keep members engaged and keep them as long-term members. And that's been very successful. And Mike has had a major role in that. Mike likes to lead geology themed hikes, and he's been the coordinator for some of our quick start schools, which is also a big deal. It's just a way to get people involved with short one evening schools to learn more and improve their mountain skills. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least is my buddy, Marianne Meyer. So Marianne joined the club in 2009, around the same time I did, and has gotten to be a good friend in Over the Hill Gang. Marianne took on editing the Over the Hill Gang newsletter, which is no easy task. It's a major undertaking that comes out every month and it's fun. It's got good idea of activities and just a great way of communicating what goes on in the section. Thank you so much, Marianne. And thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
Thanks, Jeff.
Back to Carol.
Okay, again, if you have any comments or accolades for any of these people, please put them in the chat box. Sarah, is there anything that we should take care of in the chat box? Must be muted.
No, so far everything is good. We do have the raise hand and clapping down in the reactions bottom. So feel free to give a thumbs up. And then of course, if you want to raise your hand, that's what that other hand is for. So good job.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the 2020 Chair Award winners. These awards are given by our Denver Council co-chairs. So in this case, it's Robbie Monsma and Kathy Kurtz, and they are members of the CMC who have given more than their fair share this year. Is Kathy first? Is that you, Kathy?
Kathy's first.
Over Cleveland.
Kathy, you there?
No,
Oh,
Kathy.
she's there.
Okay, now I'm going to be a little more wordy. Hi, Grover.
Hello.
Grover is a longtime CMC member. He joined in 1992.
Short time.
We are glad to recognize him for his many years of service to CMC. And he says he became very active once he joined the Conservation Committee in 2004. And then a year later, he joined the trail crew. For the last 16 years, Grover has been actively involved in both. And 4 years ago, he took over the Trails Committee when the previous leadership retired. And if any of you haven't worked on a trail crew or have, you know it's really hard work. And so he and his crew have done a wonderful job, and many people don't even know that's going on. So on the other hand, it's valuable to the land management agencies to get that help. And in 2016, Grover became a trip leader after all that time. And in that short time, 4 years, he has led 175 trips, which is pretty darn unbelievable. And he loves to lead them, and people love to go on them. So it works out. And he was a DG counselor for 3 years. So congratulations, Grover, and thanks for all your service.
Thank you.
Next up, Kevin Schaal. And Kevin's been a CMC member for nearly 20 years. And in that time, he's gone through lots of the CMC schools. He became a trip leader. He's led many trips, and most recently, he's a Bobcats trip leader. He served on Denver Council for 3 years, and 2, he was secretary. And he has been the director of Denver Group Leader School. In 2017, he joined Denver Safety and Leadership Committee, and he has served as the committee chair for the past 2 years. And we found out he's going to stay on for a 3rd year. He's found time to also lead leader and training trips and help new leaders complete the last steps to become a trip leader. But I want to tell you about, besides his many accomplishments, we treasure the traits that make Kevin a great leader and contributor to this group. He is unfailingly kind and thoughtful. He's a consensus builder. He's always well prepared, and he looks out for the safety of all. And if you go on a trip with him, he may surprise you with some fun facts about the area, especially about Roxborough State Park, where he has volunteered for many years. Kevin, congratulations and thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Next up is Greg McVie. Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again. Did I say your name wrong? That's what I...
Oh, you got it right.
Oh, good. Okay. We are very glad to recognize you, Greg. He's one of our up and coming young CMC leaders, and he's already accomplished so much since becoming a member in 2012. Greg was introduced early to the many benefits of CMC by his parents, Sandy and Nancy. He became a trip leader the same year he became a member. He then pursued HAMS the next year, and he became a technical climbing instructor. Throughout it all, Greg has led an amazing 52 trips, and that's not easy considering he has a full-time job in Denver. He's a member of the Loveland Ski Patrol. And he has joined a lot of the activities to interact with other members, open climb night, social happy hour, AMC event. And he's continued to be an incredible presence of energy, leadership, and light. Because of his leadership, the Education Department recently selected Greg to become the chair of the newly formed mountain biking section. And that section has already led 27 trips, many of which were led by Greg. So Greg is what the CMC looks for in an exemplary leader, and he is a true testament to the kindness and passion we look for in our volunteers. Greg truly deserves this award, and we wish him the best of luck in his journey at the CMC. Thank you, Greg.
Your consideration, guys. Thanks.
Norm Alt.
Okay, that's me, Robbie. This is such a pleasure. Norm's being recognized. He's a WTS Wilderness Trekking School Master Instructor, and he's the acting director right now, and we're recognizing him, recognition of faithfully and creatively administering and instructing 32 sessions of Wilderness Trekking School. It's amazing. I don't think I've been allowed that long. So people like Norm who serve for years and even decades, I think that's what's so great about CMC. It's part of our strength. And he's just one of those volunteers. He's led many hikes as well because he's a trip leader. So he joined, he was a WTS, became a WTS senior instructor in 2004, and he joined the committee. He's now a master instructor, and as I said, in his 32nd session of teaching, and he's highly rated and even beloved by his students and his assistant instructors. And plus, and this is the less glamorous part, but we're very grateful, Norm maintains the Wilderness Trekking School web pages. He handles applications, instructor recruiting. He gets info out to students. There's like 99 to 100 students, I guess, every session. And he wrangles the database, and he matches up student groups and instructors. So that is an all-year job. So thank you for that, Norm. In addition to all that, believe it or not, there's more. While Joe Griffith is taking a leave of absence, Norm has been filling in as the acting director of the school. So Norm, we cannot thank you enough.
Norm, way to go.
I consider wilderness trekking to be sort of the crown jewel class, because you have to go through that for almost anything else you do in CMC. And Norm, you are such a big part of that. We're really grateful. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Now, if it's the crown jewel, does that make me the king of WTS?
No.
Temporarily.
Thanks for the award.
We're very glad to give it. Okay, this next one is the whole section, the backpacking section, we refer to it as BPX, and Linda Lawson and John Walters are being recognized as part of that. They created, organized, and shepherded the whole new backpacking section, which was a member need, and it's created a whole statewide community, which is in furtherance of our one CMC philosophy. So John and Linda are both very experienced entrepreneurs, so they decided in effect to start a new business. And they knew that backpacking should be a core activity of CMC. And a lot of people do it, but they don't put it on the calendar. They only want to go with people they know. And it just wasn't there like it should be. So, but they knew they would have an eager market. And so they got right to work, and they administered surveys to people to see if people really were. But at the same time, they were writing regular newsletters. They recruited trip leaders. They designed the section webpage. They wrote up policies and procedures, such as defining what a backpacking trip classifications, what they are, because people want different levels. And they put out a beautiful annual report. Most wonderfully, and this is the part I can't get over, they planned 47 backpacking trips so that individual trip leaders would be encouraged to come and lead and not think they had to do all this pre-planning. That was really incredible. So they started a long needed program, and they got 1,600 signups this first year. And as I said, about a third of them are coming from groups across the state. So we're sort of edging into that one club concept. Even with the pandemic and the wildfires, they still got off 29 trips of their 47 that they planned. And so they did so much, and they want specifically to credit the change in the culture that allows them to do something so quickly and swiftly. Fast track startup kind of stuff. That's how we want people to think about if they have an idea, know that you'll get the support. This is amazing. In 2021, BPX will offer an initial 60 trips, but John's huge goal of 2022 is 100 trips offered. So if you're interested in joining, you can go onto your member profile and check the box. There's no dues or anything for it. If you're interested in being a leader, check with Linda or John or call the office. And we are so grateful to Linda and John for starting this up. And I know I want to start joining these next year now that I will have the time to do it. So I'm just thrilled, and it lets you see a lot of the state. And again, we're very, very grateful for this work that they did. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This one, Maddie Miller was not a volunteer, but when Kathy and I started thinking about who should we honor, we couldn't help but think of Maddie. She is, if you don't know, the staff's trip leader, support and coordinator. And so her job is to make sure trip leaders are taken care of and that they're happy and all that. She did such a great job, because when all this COVID started and many of us were confused and wondering about our CMC future, are we going to be able to lead? What do we have to do? Should we as trip leaders, what do we have to do? Do we have to take temps or whatever? And Maddie just stepped right up, and she started what she called her fireside chats. And that allowed us to keep our spirits up and put us together with our friends, just like we're doing tonight. And that was really, really helpful, I know, to my mental health. And then she put together a trip leader task force so that she could get actual leader advice on the COVID protocols. Now she started the Lead, which is a statewide, trip leader and instructor newsletter. Plus she leads trips. She leads backpacking, she leads bike trips, she leads high peak hikes, all that. She's really great. She moderated quite a few webinars herself, but then she arranged and supported at least 25 more. By arranging Zoom for Quick Start and for some other things. And then she's the one who uploads them to the CMC YouTube channels. There's 2 of them, if you go and look. And it's hard for us to believe she supports the entire state of Colorado, because I know me alone, I give her so many, I bury her with email CCs to make sure she knows what's going on, ask her questions. And when I multiply that times however many leaders we have in the state, that's a big burden. So I would say, I doubt if she's here tonight, but I've sent her this picture in a very nice frame with this statement in there with it. And I just think her programs and webinars were just a sanity line for some of us. It wasn't just CMC, but I don't know about some of you, but my entire life was disrupted by all that happened. So we really wanted to thank Maddie for all she did. I'm done. Yay.
Forty-year members. Shit.
Thank you, all of our volunteers, because without them, CMC would not exist. That's the most impressive thing about CMC is how much time people will give, not only 1 year, but 2 years, 3 years, 20 years,
Life.
or more. Now we're going to honor people who have been in the club for 40 years. Every year we do this, and what they get when you become a 40-year member is your membership is free from there on forward. We honor 3 people this year: Kathy Wildman, Jerry Malley, and Wayne Ewing. And it's impressive that you've actually lived in Colorado for that long length of time, since we have so many people moving into the state, and you have maintained your membership in CMC. So thank you for your membership.
Never heard of them.
Okay, now it's time for the Denver Group Volunteer of the Year. Sarah Thompson is taking this over.
Hey, everybody.
All
right, give me
right.
just a second here. So I'm going to start out with a little bit. I'm going to share. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here too. So give me just a second. Let's see.
Gone right.
All righty. So hang on just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and share. Well, maybe.
Go ahead and share, sweetheart.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, we know.
All right. Well, that's not the view I want. Let's try this.
Let's try this. Yes.
I know the anticipation's killing you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
All right. What do y'all see over here?
Nothing.
Everybody, can everybody see that all right?
No.
No, can't see it
No.
at all.
Okay, hang on.
I hit it so it said other people could share. I can't see that again though.
All right, now do you see it? Okay, perfect. All right. So here's the deal. I've also been typing up some amazing notes. I'm going to just stop sharing real quick. I know the anticipation's killing everyone.
Yeah, it's killing me.
I have faith you'll be okay in just a second.
Where's Faith? Where'd she get in there?
All righty. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the criteria for the Denver Group Volunteer of the Year. Not everybody is familiar with all this. And so this is an award that's reserved for longtime leaders who have consistently remained active. It's for people who have been around a while, but not even necessarily lots of years. It's people who have had a great deal of involvement, usually in multiple aspects of the CMC. So it might be trip leaders. It might be people who have both led trips and then taken some initiative as an instructor and then maybe served on the council. It's people who have their fingers in lots of little pots. These are also people, all these winners, they demonstrate concern and integrity for many other members, everyone, obviously. Are you guys seeing this still or no? Guys, are you still able to see my
just seeing
screen?
a black box that says Sarah T.
Well, that's not any fun. Thanks, Marilyn. Let's see.
Sharing right now.
Hang on.
There.
Well, let's see. Hang on. There's some mild technical issues we have to deal with here.
Yes.
One of those wonderful traits of this individual is their patience, by the way. So I want to thank all of you for that.
How about my patience?
Jeff, let's see. Hang on just one second, okay? Oh, let's see. I need one more screen, really. I don't know if you all have that same level of challenge, but. Let's see. Well, it's always good to have some spontaneity in your evening.
Sarah, do you want me to pull up the screen?
Yeah, actually, I made some notes on the slides, Jeff, and so I'm just
Okay.
having a little bit of trouble here. So hang on just one sec.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
There you go. Thanks, Jeff. That'll work. So other additional credits that go along with this Volunteer of the Year and other criteria include bringing some great fresh ideas to the CMC. This is a person who always brings in new thought. It might be someone who struggles with technology like me. They stick around when the going gets tough. So really everyone this evening deserves an award. And there are people who are not easily discouraged. Ultimately, these are the kinds of criteria that help make the CMC a really fantastic organization.
Terrific.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about Jonathan Walter. He was our artist. And Jonathan, I don't know if he was able to participate this evening, but I'm going to share some thoughts that he has about the wonderful award that he creates. And I'm a fortunate recipient of it as well. It's a tribute to the person, the individual, and their activities. There's a fair amount of discretion associated with nominating someone and trying to figure out who that person really should be. There are so many secrets. And we try and keep this to have a certain level of suspense associated with it.
Yes.
He created the original design, he starts it in a sketchbook, and then sometimes those carvings take anywhere between 20 and 40 hours of work between sketching, modeling, and researching. And then he wanted to let us know that this year's wood is red cedar, which is a beautiful, wonderful cedar. Should last a lifetime. And it is reminiscent of wonderful cross-country skiing themes. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about this year's recipient. I know the anticipation is still hurting all of you, but it's so important for us to share. And so I just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to think about this person a little bit more. So we ended up having a great deal of challenge associated with who should be the recipient this year. You know, we're always so incredibly fortunate to have such amazing nominations. It's truly a blessing to have all of these amazing people. And so when you have that wonderful pool of people to choose from, then it's really great that you get to think about all of the possibilities that each of these people could possibly bring. So I want to start off by saying this person has started out as a student in WTS, has been a student in wilderness trekking, wilderness trekking, survival school, has been a student in Alpine scrambling course. Let's make sure we say that carefully. Was a student in in backcountry ski touring school, has been in trip leader school, has been in numerous sessions of first aid. And then this person got a little bit more involved. They got involved with the Denver group chair and with the Denver group council rather. And we all know that that is where things start going rapidly, wildly more exciting. Then they became an instructor. And that sharing that knowledge is something that I know this person really values. And so it's been such a pleasure. But this person is also active in Bobcats. And in 2018 alone, led 45 trips just in Bobcats. Most of those are B&C trips, by the way. And also, you may know this person because they also had a great deal of experience leading at the Philmont Scout Ranch. You know, if you're not familiar with the Philmont Scout Ranch, it's in northern New Mexico near Taos, and it's an amazing experience for Boy Scouts who may see their first taste of multi-day backpacking. They may see their first taste of rock climbing there, panning for gold, lots of incredible things. And so I know by now a lot of you may think you know who the recipient is. I haven't given a whole lot of specifics, but there's one final criteria and kicker that really made it for us this year. Jeff, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. all of you who are enjoying this fun virtual annual dinner, and maybe those of you who've been there before, Carol MUNCH, we have so much gratitude for you. Thank you so much. Congratulations, you are 2020 Volunteer of the Year.
Boy, I did not expect this. Thank you so much. You really led me astray, you guys.
In fact, we lied to you completely.
You did.
So the reason that Carol's experience at Philmont is so critical is it was back in the 70s when women really didn't do much at Philmont. And so her experience there was really pioneering for a lot of people. And so I want to make sure that everybody is able to recognize that Carol has been a member since 2015. And it's just been amazing to get to both teach with her and learn from her. And I feel so fortunate to have been on the receiving end of a fair amount of her expertise and wisdom. So congratulations, Carol. You're such a deserving soul.
Thank you so much. I did not expect this. There are so many more people who are deserving. I really appreciate it. And you know what that does? It says, okay, you got to keep in there and keep volunteering and do great things. But I'm very appreciative. Thank you very much.
And was your husband able to assist here?
He was.
Fantastic.
I have I got to get it in the frame with me though.
That virtual background sometimes is a trick, but there you go. Well done, Carol.
But I need it signed, Kathy and Robbie.
Carol, all I can say
to
is
come back.
Payback is hell for you doing this to me 3 years ago. Congratulations. So well deserved.
All right. Well, I guess, boy, let me go on then. Okay, everybody's using the chat box. Okay, now we're moving on to the next part of our program because this is also the Denver Group Trip Leader Recognition Dinner that we didn't do this year. And so I'm going to ask, I guess I shouldn't go there yet. Kevin Schaal will take over from here. Kevin?
Okay, Carol, are you driving the show?
I am.
Okay, so will you bring up the presentation?
Oh, I thought I did. Hold on. I guess I didn't start the sharing. Okay, get it up on my screen.
Okay, so my name is Kevin Schaal and I'm the chair of the Denver Safety and Leadership Committee. And we're here to say thank you to trip leaders and school instructors. So all of you who are in those categories, thank you very much. Traditionally, we do an in-person leader appreciation night with drinks and dinner and have a keynote speaker to provide an interesting and educational presentation. However, due to COVID, we were not able to have the live event, so it was agreed we would combine our leader appreciation event with the annual dinner. Next slide, please. So Denver Safety and Leadership is responsible for investigating incidents, training leaders, setting policies around safety topics, and administering the SALT program. So first of all, I'd like to thank my committee and introduce them to you and explain their roles and responsibilities. So as I said, I'm Kevin, I'm the chair and the SALT coordinator. Duri Monsma is the co-chair of the committee and the newsletter editor. Bob Collins serves as the secretary to the committee. Tom Hartzell fills a very critical role. He's the one who does incident investigations when accidents, incidents, and so forth are reported from trip leaders. Tom O'Connor takes care of new trip leader approvals. Brad Cotton is the school director for the Avalanche Terrain Avoidance School. And I've got 4 members at large, Kevin Galliers, Annette Mickle, Ralph Schroba, and Jim Guerra. What's missing here is that typically there is a person on the committee who is the director of Trip Leader School. But as we mentioned earlier, the previous Trip Leader School director resigned. And so I'm looking for help with Trip Leader School activities. So if anybody is interested, you might please let me know. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I'd like to review some of the accomplishments we achieved as a safety and leadership committee. So 26 leaders were approved in fiscal year 2020. So even during this most unusual year of COVID, we've been able to add leaders to our ranks, not as many as we would have liked, but nevertheless, we added a significant number of new leaders. And regarding Trip Leader School, there is no out-of-pocket cost to members wanting to become a trip leader. So if any of you listening in wants to become a trip leader, we'd love to have you enroll. CMC is always looking to add new leaders. As we mentioned previously, Trip Leader School is now available as an online offering. It's available either via Zoom webinars when we schedule those webinars, or it's available as a self-paced online class. The credit for this goes to Jeff Stevens, who spent countless hours making our online offerings available using Google Classroom. Traditionally, Trip Leader School has only been offered as an in-person school, but COVID made us brainstorm other options. 43 people completed Trip Leader School in fiscal year 2020. 32 took it by webinar, 11 took it by the self-paced online method. Included in these totals were the 15 women who attended a women's only Trip Leader School during March's Women's Month at CMC. This was arranged by Maddie Miller. Compared to 2019, we were about 33% down. In 2019, 65 people took Trip Leader School and 36 were approved as new trip leaders. So we definitely saw the effect of COVID on our activities. 4 avalanche terrain avoidance schools were conducted with 30 attendees in each session. A 5th school was canceled in March due to COVID. So we are really trying to focus on avalanche training as well as trip leader school training. In fiscal year 2020, we had 14 incident investigations. Those consisted of 2 near misses, 5 actual accidents, and 7 incidents which were generally in the category of unacceptable behavior on a trip. SALT was made available for school instructors as it has previously been announced. It's always been available for trip leaders. We had 85 applicants in fiscal year 2020 who were approved, with a total potential cost of the Denver group of about $7,600. I say potential cost because some people apply for a certain school using the SALT application process, but then they never get around to taking the school. And so the potential cost was about $7,600. 8 safety and leader newsletters were published, and those newsletters are available on the website at cmc.org. Use the search box and enter safety and leadership in the box, and then look for newsletters in the left-hand column. Next slide, please. So trips were led in all of these following categories and special programs. We have these age-based sections, which are Trailblazers, the Rocky Mountain Over the Hill Gang Club, the Bobcats. We have some activity-based sections of fly fishing, photography, and backpacking, most notably the backpack section, the new backpack section that was highlighted. The state has added 3 new state CMC sections: mountain biking, the high peaks section, and a brand new trail running section. And I've heard there might be a 4th one in the offing, but I don't know what that one is. Technical and mountaineering trips are run through HAMS and through the Technical Climbing School. And then conservation trips are organized by our conservation people like Grover Cleveland, especially the trail work trips that was previously highlighted. We have 2 special programs, and there may be more, so if I omit some, it's just because of my bad memory. We've got a new members hikes program and a beginning snowshoe program, and those were very successful. Next slide, please. So by my count, we had 795 trips led by 173 trip leaders. We also have numerous school field trips, but they're not quantifiable. So I don't have an accurate count of the number of school instructors. There are many who contribute significantly to the mission of CMC. Some of the school instructors are also trip leaders, but it's not mandatory that they be leaders. And additionally, many school field trips are not listed in the activity calendar, so it's really pretty impossible to get an accurate count of them. But we certainly appreciate those of you who do lead school field trips and who are school instructors. Next slide, please. So by my tabulation, we had 423 hikes. About 2/3 of them are A and B hikes. The rest are C and sort of a modest number of D hikes. So 166 snowshoe trips were led and 48 total ski trips in the categories of easy, moderate, or advanced. Next slide, please. By my count, we had 34 backpack trips. So we did have a huge number of trip cancellations due to COVID. So there was a large number of trips that were put on the calendar and then ultimately canceled. And so sometimes I imagine in the trying to tally these trips, it got confusing as to which was an actual trip and which was a canceled trip. Nonetheless, I tallied 47 biking trips, 5 fly fishing trips, 10 scrambles, 41 rock climbs. Some of those rock climbs were actually the climbing wall in the building, 5 ice climbs, and 16 in a category is pretty undefinable that were called other trips. One, for example, was a Super Bowl party. So anyway, we counted that as a trip anyway. By my tally, there were 14 new member hikes and 7 beginner snowshoe trips. Next slide, please. So what I'm listing here are the people who are what I call prolific trip leaders. I certainly want to mention to begin with, we had 140 leaders who led between 1 and 9 trips. They're a little bit too numerous to list individually, but for those of you who are trip leaders, you know who you are, and we are sincerely grateful for the trips that you've led. We had 13 leaders who led between 10 and 14 trips. I'll give you a few seconds while you look over the list. Next slide, please. So we had 4 leaders who led between 15 and 19 trips, Frank and Sheryl and Greg and Sherry. Hit the down button again, please. We had 2 leaders who led between 20 and 29 trips. That would be Dorothea and Stan. One more time, please. We had 1 leader who led between 30 and 39 trips. Next, please. And overall, Grover Cleveland led 42 trips. He was the one that led the most number of trips.
Holy shit.
That's a lot. Anyway, this year we won't be giving the usual 1-year free memberships to people who led significant number of trips. That's due to the financial situation that Jeff Flax highlighted earlier, and it's also due to COVID. We didn't want to give the impression that leading trips during the pandemic was more valuable to the club than the personal safety of our leaders. So we elected to not give free memberships this year. But we certainly do appreciate everyone's contributions for the numbers of trips that you led. We continue working to help the club meet one of its key strategic initiatives, that initiative being we need more trip leaders who put more trips on the calendar. So that's one of our missions. Thank you very much for your attention. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat box. Sarah, anything you want to bring to our mind?
Only more accolades for you, Carol.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hey, Carol, this is Jeff. Can you take a second just to recognize Keegan?
I'm sorry?
Can you take a second just to recognize
yes.
Keegan?
Keegan, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I was just texting with Jeff. He took all my great talking points of how we kicked so much butt this year. Yeah, just thanks, Carol, for putting this great event together. 2 years ago, I walked through the door and Robbie and Kathy just welcomed me with open arms and have been so great to work with. So I just want to say thanks. I also have to echo what the BPX backpacking section has done in terms of vision for this club and how we're trying to replicate that, which is part of the strategic plan, right, of opening new disciplines, so in an effort to be more welcoming to more members. The one key thing I would love folks to know about is, you know, when I started with the club, probably the most common comment I had is, why does nobody know who the heck we are? Our marketing, we need to get out there. People need to hear about the great CMC. We're not recognized like we were 50 years ago. And we're working to fix that. Building on the strategic plan, we're now into a phase 2, which is brand identity work, which is allowing us to take this great club that does so much that our communications are sometimes a mile wide and an inch deep. And so we're doing some very serious brand identity work to better do public relations out in the community. Because we got a story to tell. We're leaders and we've got a great reputation and everyone should have CMC on their lips. So that's one of the cool things we're working on among other things. So yeah, thanks. Appreciate y'all inviting me. This Denver group kicks butt. You lead the way and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Keegan. It's been a pleasure having you as our executive director because you care, you listen to us, and you're making things happen. So thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Carol. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Share. Back to now. Another CMC member who is one of our younger up and coming who we're very proud of. Sheryl Lampert will tell us about her trip up Denali and other high peaks she's climbed in North and South America. So Sherry, take it away.
Sure. Thank you. I'm gonna just take over the screen here. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thanks. All right. Well, and that was very flattering of you to call me a younger member because I'm not sure that's really the case, but I'll take it. So I was asked to speak, and I'm guessing because all the other interesting people were probably busy this evening. Nonetheless, I was honored to be asked. So when Kevin asked me to present a slideshow on my trip of Denali last year, of course, I was excited to talk about that adventure, but I also wanted to highlight my journey to get there. So climbing the highest peak in North America may be a dream for some people, but I have to say I have the CMC to thank for giving me the skills and friendships that got me there. So I moved in Colorado in 2011. I spent several years hiking the 14ers and exploring Colorado. But when I started to become more involved with the CMC, my mountaineering journey really began. And if any of you have chatted with me, you'll hear about how I talked about how I started to drink the CMC Kool-Aid. I remember what flavor it was, purple Saurus Rex, cherry limeade, but I drank it. I think a lot of you have as well. So I think the first introduction I had was I took the Alpine Climbing School. At that time, it was Basic Mountaineering School. And in CMC style, of course, we changed the name, added a new acronym, and then changed the acronym back. So now we'll call it ACS, Alpine Climbing School, not to be mistaken with Alpine Scrambling Course, ASC, which we mentioned earlier. I know it's confusing. Anyways, ACS. Though actually, now that I think of it, I think I was a member of CMC in 2002, where I took 4-season backpacking, which I don't think is a thing anymore, but just to date myself, again, I'm not as young as you claim I am, but I remember having to use real telephones and having to register for trips from like a catalog. So I don't know, does anybody remember that? Maybe give like your thumbs up or your clap.
So many of us.
Yep. I was hoping I could find somebody that actually had one of those catalogs still. But just for a little show and tell. But anyways, that was the thing. We didn't have our fancy website then. So anyway, so BMS was an amazing experience, but of course it left me wanting more. And actually I'm still really close with a lot of those people that took the class with me. In fact, some of them are on here. They also drank the Kool-Aid, and they're also fantastic trip leaders, school directors, and instructors that are being honored on this call tonight as well. So the next step, of course, after that introduction to mountaineering, I knew it was important to educate myself in the backcountry in the winter. If you haven't taken AIR yet, I recommend it. You know, the three biggest things I'm afraid of are avalanches, mountain lions, and revolving doors. Valid fear. But anyway, so AIR at least helped with one of those fears. And then, of course, it didn't stop there. So I had to go on and take all of the rock climbing courses within the technical climbing schools. And most of my climbing partners and friends are friends I made through these schools. Is, you know, it's really reassuring to know these people went through like the same education and skills training and journey that you did. It's really just great comforting feeling to have friends that went through this with you. And then next in my journey, I took the high altitude mountaineering school, HAMS, Schaal. So after finishing all the 14ers, you know, of course I set my sights higher elevations, bigger mountains. This is where the bug really hit. And I was so fortunate to find several mentors, many on this call, and I hope you know who you are. They gave me so much guidance to plan and train for the many adventures I have ahead. And also friends and teammates that would join me on these adventures. You know, for HAMS, you may know we do our grad climb on Mount Rainier. We're lucky, which is one of the most majestic mountains I've ever seen. It was unlike any of the 14ers we have in Colorado. Not better, just different. Glaciers, crevasses, they're just terrifying yet mesmerizing at the same time. So of course I needed more of those. So next I pulled out my passport, and this is where more mountaineering came in. I wish I'd taken Spanish in high school instead of German, because South America is such an amazing place to for accessible high altitude mountaineering. With a lot of friends from HAMS, we went to explore volcanoes in Mexico, Orizaba and Itza, and that just kickstarted my craving for the bigger peaks. So luckily my J job was really supportive, and they gave me the opportunity to also visit Colombia, Bolivia, where we climbed Pequeño Pumayo, Huayna Potosi, and then Ecuador. We climbed Cotopaxi and Cayambe. And I also made an attempt for Aconcagua. And as exciting as South America is, I didn't take for granted all the mountains we have domestically and returned to the Pacific Northwest to climb Rainier again. You know, I could probably climb that mountain every year and not get bored. It's so fantastic. And again, with friends I made in the CMC, we climbed several more peaks in the Cascades, like Baker, Shuckson, Shasta. I probably visit the Pacific Northwest every year just to visit the mountains. This year, I actually tackled Gannett Peak, which is the highest peak in Wyoming. In the pandemic year, this was actually a really popular peak for a lot of Coloradans. I met cross people coming down. There, you know, on social media, you always know where everybody is. And every week there was somebody there. So that actually worked out well for me. I had a lot of beta on the route, but it was a great experience. And to just know it's state next door, just so much to explore here. And of course I have to fit in. I say, you know, the student becomes a master. I'm certainly not a master of anything. I'm just a really enthusiastic volunteer instructor, like a lot of us are. So during all of this, all these classes I took, you know, and all the experiences I get, I wanted to be able to give back. By the mentorship I received, I wanted to also be able to mentor other people, just to giving back and always continuously learn. And I hope this year, or all the years, I'm able to inspire others. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on building more women to become technical trip leaders and instructors. And I hope I can be a mentor to others. And I know a lot of you, that's why we're here on this call, because we're being honored for being, volunteers. We give so much of our time because we've received so much from this club. And so, of course, I had to mention beer. No, for other reason, then I just wanted to have a cheers to all of us. So anybody that has a drink in your hand, please cheers yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's why we're here. So that was a little bit long-winded and doesn't really get to the point where I was asked to come here. So Denali. So the reason I was asked to speak was to showcase our Denali expedition that we did last year. So I may be running out of time to go into too much of those, but anybody that sees me, I'm always happy to talk about this. And I have lots of pictures I can always share. Interestingly, Brett Jones of the Pikes Peak group, he actually spoke at their group dinner, I think it was last night, about Denali too. So I guess this is the theme this year. And we actually brought the CMC banner, which was on my first slide, all the way up to the summit. And we were able to hand it off to Britt's team, the Pikes Peak group, so that they could take it to the summit just a few days after us. Part of it was also we wanted to kind of unload our sleds while we were making our way down. So there was some ulterior motives to giving him some of our gear. But anyway, so they were able to also fly the flag proudly on the summit. Anyway, so our team name was Hot Tang Colorado. Honestly, I actually don't remember how we came up with that team name. But that is what was on our permits, on all of our stickers, on our can, on our flags. That was our name. It was. It actually helped Base Camp Mary remember us when we were trying to get our flight back to Talkeetna. Actually, that and maybe the wine, fresh fruit, whiskey, and of course cans of Hot Tang. We wanted to leave our legacy there. It helped. So the planning process, we probably spent about 6 months planning and training together. And I was fortunate enough to find great teammates, Jamie Simpson, Katie Hendrickson, Louis Marquin, James Graebner. Fantastic people. I had so much fun training with them. We did lots of planning with spreadsheets. I don't know, that spreadsheet file is probably the biggest I've ever had, but we had it down to how many ounces of fuel each day that we might consume. We had the calories, our mac to the macro level. Well, they did. I mostly brought junk food, to be honest. And we did lots of training and sometimes in inclement weather, which ended up being worse than most of the weather that we had on Denali, actually. But we were prepared. But I have to say, all the skills I learned in my journey, which I've described in my previous slides, is what helped me get to this climb. So 6 months later of training, we flew into base camp with a combined 600 pounds of gear. And of course, I have to admit, of my 24 pounds of food I brought, 6 pounds of it were peanut butter M&Ms. No regrets there. They were actually like gold on the mountain. We were able to barter for like fresh cheese, for honey for the hot toddies. It worked really well. So I recommend, if you're ever going on an expedition, bring food that's as good as gold. So we flew into Talkeetna and actually started hiking in that as soon as we got off the plane, because Base Camp Mary described the snow as dreamy, and if you're giving dreamy snow, you hike it. So Denali was interesting. It's very different than the mountaineering I'm used to. There were no alpine starts. We typically started around 9 a.m. in the mornings, not 1 a.m. like I'm used to. after having our morning tea and coffee, discussing the day. Our days are about 6 to 8 hours long. And we were able to get a few rest days in where we like read books, lounged about, did glacier yoga, and as you can see, had some fun. I know that's not the experience everyone has on Denali, so we were very fortunate. We were also very fortunate that we all brought matching long underwear, so so that we could just hang out in the glacier. And I have to emphasize how lucky we were with the weather. I know many people have to wait out storms in their tents for that perfect summit day. We were often in sun shirts and concerned about reapplying sunblock frequently enough. Not to discredit how hard we trained, but we definitely were lucky. So here's a post from our summit day, just to explain how uncharacteristically good the weather was. It was just the difference of like, should we summit tomorrow with perfect weather, or should we wait till the day after for slightly better than perfect weather? It was just really unreal. So we reached the summit in 9 days, luckily with our good weather. And then we spent one long 14-hour day descending to base camp. This is not the summit picture, but this is one of my favorite pictures from the trip because I actually got teary-eyed. It wasn't just me. I think it was the whole team. I think we were just so all emotional at that moment that we realized that we were going to actually make it to the summit. Not because it was the hardest or highest climb. It was just that moment of pure jubilation. I can't really think of a better word to describe that feeling, but it was pretty fantastic feeling to be with this team that I've trained with and just have this experience with them. So, and finally, and I could go on with probably 50 more slides on pictures of Denali, but I know we've been on this call for a long time. Some of you may have to go to the bathroom, and I know I do, and it's getting close to my bedtime, but I wanted to I didn't get around to this, but I wanted to kind of talk about like this investment that I've made in my mountaineering career through CMC and what a good, and I'm a business person, so I think about cost benefit analysis. And I just wanted to kind of highlight a sample of, the cost it was to take a class through CMC and then the cost to take somewhere else, through like a guided company or anywhere else. And this is just kind of a sample just for, just to kind of illustrate. You can see, sure, areas a little bit less, BMS or ACS, maybe it cost me $350 through CMC. If I would have taken that similar course, it would cost me $1,300 for a 3-day crash course. Me, I spent 4 months with some people learning these skills. Denali, we went unguided, probably cost us about $2,600. If I had went with a guided company, it would have cost at least $7,000. And all I would have gotten from that is somebody may have made tea for me at the end. And I definitely think it was worth the experience to be able to plan that alone and or with my team, and to be completely unsupported and feel that we had the confidence and skills to be able to accomplish this adventure. So I'm going to say, I probably spent about a third as much as I would have otherwise. But the most important thing, I think, is the friends I made through this journey is priceless. So if there's a, button for the, this will be where you click that. So that said, if anyone has any questions about anything, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you for listening to me and hanging on till the end.
If you have questions, type them in the chat box, please.
Can we ask one here?
Sure.
Hey, Cheryl, congratulations on Denali. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you could take a moment and compare Gannett in Wyoming to like our 14ers. What's that experience like?
Well, a lot longer approach than anything I've done up there. I think round trip, it was about 60 miles. So, you know, the time of the year that we went, we had really good snow conditions, and there was definitely a Berkshire on there and a crevasse that we had to cross, but it wasn't like the Pacific Northwest. I think it was definitely worth bringing our ropes and gear and having that experience to be able to handle the glacier travel, but we didn't need it. Though that said, I know there was another group from Colorado that was there days before us, and there were some inexperienced people that were on the mountain who have never done snow travel before. They didn't need their glacier travel gear for themselves, but they did actually use it to be able to haul somebody up. Somebody had slipped on the snow and fell into the crevasse, and they actually were able to rescue them out. So, you know, those are skills that not everybody knows or is able to do, but they are able to kind of like help others. And I think that's important too. You know, we're able to take care of ourselves, and we can be out there to help others when they need it.
One more quick question, which will be unfair, but I'll ask anyway. Okay. I've heard that Mount Everest is good practice for Denali.
I don't know about that. I have no desire to do Mount Everest, but I suspect you couldn't possibly get as good weather on Everest as I had on Denali.
Anyway, very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's a question from Gerard G. Curious what happened with attempt on Aconcagua.
So we had, there was some weather coming in, so we had to ascend probably faster than we could acclimate, and we had kind of a turnaround time. So on our summit day, we had to be able to start from below high camp at 18,000 feet, be able to summit to just shy of 23,000 feet, and then get back to base camp at around 14,000 feet by the end of the day. So we're like, well, this is our shot. And so we kind of planned a turnaround time and didn't quite make it. So we were a little bit shy of making the summit, but we made it back safely, and it was still a great experience.
And another one from Dante Galen. What's next on your list?
Oh, I don't know. I think I would probably like to try an 8,000 meter peak. We'll see. But, you know, this year, you know, like I was saying before, I took for granted everything that we have in the US domestically, and I may just spend some more time in the Pacific Northwest or maybe in the Tetons and just really working on my technical skills. We have so much that's close to us. I don't have to go to South America or Himalayas to find something that's challenging and exciting.
Yes, especially with our travel restricted
right,
now.
Yeah.
Right to it. I have another question from Michael. How many pounds of poop carried?
Oh, I knew I could count on him to ask that question. So poop is an interesting question on the mountains. You know, you have to carry it out usually. So on Aconcagua, actually, they give you a trash bag and a poop bag, basically, and they actually weigh it on your way out to make sure that you're actually packing everything out, which was kind of an interesting experience. I think the question that he really wants to ask is, what's the, you know, this come up before, what's the highest elevation I pooped at? And for all of you that are just dying to know, it was probably a high camp on Aconcagua at 19,136 feet. So
all right.
wants to do that.
Well, there's
Anyway,
great
everyone can rest
presentation.
it better knowing that now.
Be able to poop.
We have great presentation, cool trips. So Dante says, how long have you been a member again? This is amazing.
So again, I was a member in like 2002, but then I moved away from Colorado, I returned, and I think I became active again in 2015. Again, like I was saying, when I took one class and then started drinking the Kool-Aid. And then it's just been nonstop since. And it's great. I love it.
Any more comments? Kenneth Beeler says, Cheryl is amazing. And we think so too.
Ah, thanks.
So see, we can all set our sights high. Cheryl has done it. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for sticking out with us an hour and a half. Thanks to everybody who worked on this, CMC, the staff. We all work together, and it's been, for me, a great journey through CMC. So thumbs up to everybody and good night.
President,